Hi, it's me Sam, and this is By Hook or By Needles, and today, as promised, we are going to do a continuation of the series on knitting tutorials. And if a frog jumps down my throat this time as I'm trying to speak, and I can feel it jumping down, I'm going to lose my mind. I really am. We're doing a corner to corner, which is on the bias, garter stitch, square. You can decide that you want to do a washcloth, so you can make it bigger. I'm just going to make a very small one. You can decide not to do any decreases and just start and increase until it's big enough for your needs as a shawl. That's fine as well. The choice is yours. But with this, you only start off with your slip knot. So you just do your slip knot and that's it. There's no casting on. What you do is we're going to turn this one stitch into 3. And it's almost like a knit front and back to do 3 stitches from 1. So you start off as though you were doing a knit front and back. But instead of going over into the back for your second stitch, you loop over. Now, why have I suddenly gotten so close? Okay, and then you knit into the front leg again, not the back leg, and you knit again. And then you've got 3 stitches from 1. With the garter corner to corner, you only need to increase in the first stitch of every row. So that means, you know, when the rows start getting quite long, you don't have to remember to also increase at the end, like you do with some sort of projects that are becoming like a V. So we start by just doing knit front and back. And then knit to the end. Now, if you're having trouble remembering your knit front and back, just go back to the playlist for these videos, and they're all in order from beginning to end. And the front and back, the knit front and back increase will be in the video labeled increases. I think it's simple increases, I'm not sure. But yeah, so into the stitch, pick up, go around, and then we knit into the back as well. And then we've got our 2, we can pull it off. And then we go knitting to the end. Once you get the hang of this, it really becomes a mindless knit, because you only have to remember to increase, you know, your knit front and back at the beginning of the row, and then the rest of the row is just knitting. So it's something you can sort of, once you sort of get a little bit more experience under your belt, you can do watching TV. You don't have to sort of even think about it. So that's my cat, if you can hear that. That's my cat having a little grumble in her sleep. Knit front and back, and then knit to the end. And you can see what I mean. It becomes like a little V, a little triangle. So it's great for a triangular shawl, if that's what you want to make instead. If you want to just keep going and practicing your knit front and back, then do that. And the garter stitch makes a really nice squishy shawl as well. It comes out quite nice. And you know, my recommendation would be, if you're going to do a shawl, you use a ombre yarn, you know, a yarn with a very long color change or a medium color change. I wouldn't use one with a short color change because the stitch is quite busy, I suppose. There's lots of bumps, and the color changing every few stitches will just take away from that, and it's just going to look like a mess. Whereas the longer changes or the gradual changes, you know, look much, much better, in my opinion. But they also add a bit of interest to your knitting and interest to the final project. She's having a real grumble sleep. It's a funny old thing. Now there are patterns for knitting a garter stitch coaster or washcloth that has a hole along the edges, and that's created because you're instead of doing a knit front and back, you're knitting one, yarning over, and then knitting to the end. But because if you're going to do that, if you're going to do a yarn over here and create holes along the edge like a lace work, when you come to decreasing, you also have to do a yarn over. So you're increasing on the decreasing side, which means you have to decrease twice, increase once. And I just find that's a little bit unnecessary when you could just do it this way. As you can see, the edges are quite straight and it's perfect 90-degree angle, which is just what you want if you're going to be doing a square or even a shawl. Ideal also for baby blankets, I guess, you know, smaller blankets, because there are no holes. They are, you know, they can be nice and squishy, and yeah, you can always crochet a border on it if you want a border on it later. Sounds like hiccups. Oh, now she stops. Okay. Oh no, there's another one. Sometimes this cat is very strange, and she does. Have you ever watched a bird when they see a bird, a cat when they see a bird, or any form of prey? They do sort of like a chattery, you know, chatter, where they sort of open their mouths and they sort of, you know, sort of really weird sort of sound. She does that in her sleep, so I assume she's dreaming about trying to catch a bird or something else. They see lots of birds out my window. That's the only birds I get to see. Because I don't get to go outside. I'm not allowed in my council area. Have to be indoor cats 24/7 to protect the birds and possums and all the other wonderful fauna that we have. And it's a whopping fine too if your cat happens to get out and get trapped. It's a $200 fine plus however many days they spend in the pound. You have to reimburse the pound for food. So it can be a bit of an expensive business if you want to break the rules. Okay. Just trying to decide. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna, I'll do one more row and then I'll show you how we do the decreases. And the decreases are going to be the same. It's only going to be one a decrease at the beginning of each row and then knit to the end until you get that back down to 3 stitches. Then I'll show you how we do the 3 stitches to 1. Okay. Now at this point it's up to you. You can do a row without any increasing or decreasing, or you can just go straight into the decreasing. If you do one row without increasing and decreasing, you risk there being a bit of a flat edge, which isn't at this end because we've gone from 1 stitch to 3. And so if you do a plain, straight row without any increases or decreases, then you've got a bit of a straight edge occurring. So I usually go straight into the decreases. And the decreases are just simply knitting 2 together and knitting to the end. Now if you need a slower version or more detailed description of the knit 2 together, once again go to the playlist. I'll put the playlist in the description, or at least I'll put the 2 videos for the increases and decreases in the description again in case you wish to refer to them. And then you knit to the end. Knit 2 together. And knit to the end. I've got to decide where to go from here with this. I thought that I might show you a stockinette stitch shawl or a stockinette stitch placemat or something similar. But if you've got any ideas or any desires as to what you specifically wish to see next, please let me know in the comments. And provided it's not sort of too advanced, I will try to show too advanced for you. There's not, the only thing I can't really do with knitting is fix a knitted brioche error. I'm still learning with that. It's pretty tricky, but I am sort of okay with doing most knitted things. So yeah, but I just don't want to sort of jump too many steps in the knitting. Because then you'll just end up getting lost perhaps, and you know, that's not what I'm all about here. I'm trying to teach you, you know, how to gradually build your skills so that you're confident with what you're doing and are enjoying the knitting, so you don't want to, you know, give up. But I think a lot of the time, you know, people give up on stuff because it becomes too difficult, and we think, oh no, too hard, and they put it down and walk away. So that's why I'm trying, you know, a lot of you might be thinking this is just too simple. And maybe for some of you it is. But for others, it might be just the right pace. And it might be just the right thing. And you can see we're already getting our little corners coming as we decrease at the beginning. I mean, there are just literally these two stitches, the knit and the purl, but it's what you do with them that creates the variance that you see. Every, you know, knitted pattern, even brioche, is knit and purl, but it's with, you know, yarn overs and other things. Like all the lace work you see, that's just knit and purl with lots and lots of yarn overs, and knit two togethers and increases and all sorts of other things. So, you know, if you can get knit and purl down and recognize them and get a few good increases and decreases down, then, you know, you really can get onto simple garments. You know, you could do scarves, you could do even maybe a simple jacket or cardigan or jumper, depending on the pattern. Some of them can be quite confusing. Get some more yarn out. But yeah, if you've got any ideas of what you would like to see, please let me know. There are other ways of doing your edges other than just sort of knitting two together or knitting front and back. You know, I could sort of move on to doing that with the next sort of project. By using some of the other decreases available. Whoops. Don't forget to decrease. I think I've missed a decrease. Oh no, I haven't. As I say, it looks a bit wonky, but I haven't missed a decrease. It's okay. Okay. Or if I did and I didn't notice, and you saw that I didn't decrease, let me know. Oops, almost decreased at the end. I'm getting too eager. Now you could even do a load of these and sew them together like a granny blanket, granny's square blanket, except where you're knitting them. And that would look good if you've got lots of scrappy bits of yarn. You know, you can do that. Your square may need blocking when you're finished. It just depends on your tension of your increases and decreases and whatnot. But yeah. Whoops, stop trying to decrease at the end, woman. I'm getting too eager. I'm getting too ahead of myself. Oh dear, getting my needle in there is getting harder. Why is that? Probably too tight, I don't know. Okay, one more row and then we'll have 3 stitches left. And then we will do a 3 to 1 decrease. So do a knit 2 together for the last row. And now we've got a 3. Like at the beginning we had 3, now we've got 3 at the end. So how do we do this? We slip one knitwise, which means the yarn is at the back. If we're going to slip purlwise, remember, the yarn is at the front, but we're going to slip knitwise. So we're going to slip that stitch off without doing anything to it. We're going to take the next 2 stitches and we're going to purl those two, knit those 2 together. Then we're going to take the first stitch and put it over the remaining stitch. Got 1 stitch left. Snip our yarn, feed it through, and pull. And there you have it. Our bias on the bias. Knitted square. And it looks a bit wonky. And I think that's just because my tension varied a bit too much. Whoops. But there you go. That is your knitted corner to corner on the bias. And like I say, if you just kept it growing, you'd end up with a shawl, or you could keep growing until, you know, you've got half the width here, or the width here of a blanket that you want, and then decrease. You could make, you know, you get all your scrap yarn, and you could make loads of different little squares, and then sew them all together into a blanket, or crochet them together into a blanket. You could add a crochet border to this. You could add a crochet border to your shawl if you make one. You know, the choices, the options are, you know, really endless with this. Okay, that's the lot for today. Take care. I'll see you next time. Let me know what you want to see and what you want to learn. Until then, bye for now.